I decided I was going to title this Conor McGregor and P. Diddy. Reason being, in recent times with Keefe D getting arrested and possibly getting charges on murder for the Tupac case in terms of just involvement, not necessarily the guy that did the trigger pulling or anything like that, but rather the complicit or some kind of facilitator or ringleader in whatever they can bring up in terms of, let's say, RICO charges, where they bring down a whole entire gang rather than, let's say, an individual criminal act. So, nonetheless, one of the things you got to understand is that P. Diddy's time could be coming up. It's been a great ride. And you can almost say that same thing about Conor McGregor. Because the position that Conor McGregor is at right now, I don't honestly think that this guy is in the best shape to get out there and make a comeback. And if he does, being that it is Michael Chandler, it's just a matter of having the right style of matchup that he was afforded to. But later down the line in the top 155 divisions and maybe even to 170 if he wants to try his luck, he's going to have a very difficult time due to the lifestyle that he's been living. And I don't think that's groundbreaking news to say. Everyone says it because it's just the reality of the fact and what you see in front of you. The guy's out there drinking in the pubs when he's doing Ariel Helwani interviews for Matchroom content. He's out there drinking in Anthony Joshua's fights, drinking in Katie Taylor's fights. He shows up in Matchroom fights more than he shows up for UFC events nowadays. And yes, granted, a lot of that is just the simple fact that you're dealing with a regional proximity of Dublin and London being in the same area where it's a lot easier for him to have access in that. So, you look at P. Diddy's career. He came from, I guess, humble beginnings, like anybody else that would come up from the world of rap music or in the world of professional fighting athletics. And afterwards, he found riches and success, just like the story of anybody else that we know that we admire or somebody that we aspire to. It's all a very stereotypical story. But you know what else is very stereotypical with P. Diddy and Conor McGregor is that there are going to be rises and then there's going to be big falls, and right now we are witnessing the era of the big fall between them. Is it that far-fetched that with a confession from Keefe D saying that he's the one that got paid or was supposed to get paid in the various stories that he has on this particular subject, could be the reason that, let's say, P. Diddy gets brought up on charges of being complicit of trying to pay for a hitman. And then that just brings down an entire bag of rocks while he's going up a hill in the mountains. Because you look at his life, you really thought in your mind that it's just nothing but up from there, right? From the time that he came out with Mo Money, Mo Problems. After Biggie died, he came out with I'll Be Missing You, a very big hit in the summer in 97. And then you go into his next phase of his career, MTV's The Band. You had Mace, you had The Lox, you had Little Kim. Look, you guys know the discography of P. Diddy and his work in the music industry. And you guys know the work of Conor McGregor as the two-weight division champion, the double champion, the 145 undisputed and the 155 undisputed. And then on top of that, you have him as one of the few guys to have ever crossed over into boxing, made a whole lot of money, and then created a business out of it. It's very similar Very similar to how they're, how they were brought up in that similar way, right? And it's also funny that McGregor does have Notorious B.I.G.'s nickname. Not that it has any correlation to anything, but it's just a very strange coincidence that there's parallels between the life of P. Diddy and Conor McGregor right now, and he is the notorious one. And P. Diddy was the man that created the Notorious in terms of creating a rap persona and somebody that he put out there in the world as a main producer. So what a great life, right? He was in that situation with Shine and J-Lo where they shot up a club. He manages to duck and dodge that. P. Diddy seems to duck and dodge a lot of things. He was involved in that shooting during the Biggie murder that night, meaning that he could have been one of the people that got targeted. So Puff has seen his shares of downfalls, just like Conor McGregor has seen his shares of downfalls. And this is an even bigger downfall if Conor McGregor happens to lose his next fight. There's no doubt about that. And then you're going to ask questions, well, should he continue fighting at this top level? Or maybe he should just go into YouTube boxing, or maybe just stay in MMA or in the UFC and fight lesser competition and make the most money out of it. It's a very complicated situation. But you also got to understand, there's nobody that is bigger than the UFC, even Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is the biggest star and the biggest name in the industry in the current moment of time. But you also have to understand that it's not far-fetched for him to be taken off the roster, okay, and ending his career in that type of disgraceful manner. It's a possibility. You cannot deny that. And with P. Diddy, guess what? All these things that he's dodged, all these things that he's somehow escaped from, is it finally the time to where he now has to pay the piper? These are some really interesting times, to be quite honest with you. And I'd be curious to see where the career trajectory of both these men are in the next coming months and maybe even the next year, because that's where a lot of this gets really exciting. So guys, like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this content as much as I did.